So it just started raining in South Africa, and I'm in Johannesburg, and it is truly beautiful. It reminds me of that Toto song Africa. I can remember when I was abroad and I heard that song, I used to think about how I missed the rains down in Africa, and now I'm here. It is truly, truly beautiful. So sometimes I think we want to react when we see something beautiful, and we want to immediately stop and take a picture or get some reference or post it somewhere. But I think sometimes the art of just seeing is something that we miss, and I want to talk about the art of seeing and just stopping and pausing today, but also focus and photography specifically. So welcome to Photo Fridays.
Part 5.
When you're starting with photography, one of the most important parts is obviously to have a lens for your camera. Some of the cameras you guys might be using, and specifically those of you that's using your cell phones, don't have a choice. You are basically stuck with the lens that's given to you. But some of you guys might be using DSLR or film cameras where you have the opportunity or the chance to actually change these lenses. So the question is, what lens should you buy if your camera didn't come with a kit lens, and what lenses works best? And then how many lenses should we actually have? How many lenses should you own? And if you're going out on a shoot, what lenses should I take with? And how does it work? So those are all very interesting and huge questions, especially for a beginner photographer. And I'm going to try to help you to answer some of that, and also give you some guidelines to what helped me when it came to lens choices on my specific cameras. So how does a lens actually work? First of all, when you take a picture, light comes through the lens. And then the light actually enters the lens, and the lens focuses that light. That's the first main function of a lens. So it focuses the light, and then the aperture on the lens, or the aperture setting, lets you through more light or less light according to what you set it to. And then the lens can also modify this light, so you'll have a certain kind of view, a zoom, which will enlarge the picture at the end before it hits the sensor, or that will make that view wider. So what is focal length, and how does this feature work when it comes to camera lenses? So basically, focal length is the key of any camera's lens, and it determines how much of a scene you can capture and how large or how small those things appear in the photo. So it's measured in millimeters and describes the distance between the lens and the camera sensor when the subject is in complete focus. So you can divide focal length into a couple of groups. The first one is called the short focal length, or the wide angle lenses. And to give you a good example, it'll be anything from about 18 millimeters to about 24 millimeters. You can find the focal length of a specific lens on the front most of the time, and you'll see it's measured in millimeters. So short focal length is 18 millimeters to 24 millimeters. So it takes the shorter focal length means basically it takes the photo so you can see a wider scene, so it allows you to fit more of the surroundings into your specific frame. The objects looks obviously a lot smaller and further away, and this kind of focal lengths are good for capturing landscapes, architecture, and anything where you want to capture a wider scene. And then the next one is what we call long focal lengths. And this is not wide angle, this is telephoto lenses. So another name for a long focal length is a telephoto lens. And that'll be anything from 85 millimeters up, and you can get it mostly around about 400 millimeters. So a longer focal length zooms in on the distant subjects, making them appear closer, and more magnified. So that's basically a zoom. The objects looks bigger, they looks zoomed in, but the background becomes more blurred. So it often occurs when you are taking things like portraits or wildlife photography. The zoom on the lens causes the background to blur. All right, so it's got a very narrow angle, and you can see a smaller part of the scene, but more of your specific subject. And then we get something that we call standard focal lengths. So this is basically when you look through the lens and you can basically almost see what the eye sees. That's 35 millimeters or 50 millimeters, depending on the sensor size. So it gives you a normal focal length, and that's, like I said, how your human eye would see the specific frame. The lenses provide a very natural look, so there won't be any distortion or disfiguring of your subjects, and this is great for using in everyday kind of photography. Also, a lot of the fixed lensed cameras, like your rangefinder cameras, comes out with these kind of focal length lenses. So from my perspective, when I started, and this would be probably the only guidelines I could give you, if you're buying a new camera, they usually come out with a kit lens, and those kit lenses are usually great to actually use for you to figure out what would you like to take photos of and what focal length would work the best for you. So using those kit lenses, specifically with your big brands, they come out with amazing lenses. I started with the Nikon system, and then I moved to the Fuji system. And on both of those cameras, I used the kit lens quite a lot, especially for everyday kind of photography. Another thing that I would definitely recommend if you decide to take specific photos would be to get a fixed lens. That would be a lens that's got a specific focal distance, so you won't be able to zoom in or out using that lens. It just helps you just to pause for a bit, and instead of you zooming in, to actually physically move up to that specific point or change your angle by moving your physical body around instead of zooming in and out. I started off with what photographers call the nifty 50, so that's the 50 millimeter lens. I used that on a cropped sensor camera, and I can honestly say about 80% of everything I shot, that worked perfectly fine, especially if you get quite a fast fixed focal 50 millimeter lens, say anything from about 1.8 and maybe even less. You can get those fast lenses, and the prices are not that steep, but you'll be able to actually, especially creatively, improve your photography quite a lot. And then when I converted from Nikon to Fuji, I couldn't really afford a automatically or an autofocus lens. I had to get a converter, and I had to use those lenses and manually focus. Luckily with the Fujifilm system, they've got something they call focus peaking, where you can manually adjust it and you can see when your image is in focus or not in focus. It helped quite a lot, but just by pausing again and manually focusing that lens. And by the way, that's how you would focus with most of your older film cameras as well, using it manually. It helped me quite a lot to pause again, like I said, and to focus on the scene. And this improved my creativity immensely. So when it comes to the art of seeing, I think one of the things that really helped me, especially in the last couple of years, was going back to film photography. It just made the process so much slower. And instead of you taking out a camera and just immediately starting to snap away, I could literally find myself in the process of just stopping and looking at the frame, appreciating the moment, and then deciding, do you want to take the picture? Is the light good enough? Is it a scene that is actually capturing you emotionally? Are you passionate about what you are viewing or witnessing, and then taking the photo? And that made such a big difference when it came to me, not photography wise, not necessarily even skill wise, but just appreciating, stopping the moment and looking and really seeing. So hopefully next time we, as a community, will just pause a bit and really appreciate the things around us. And it's so difficult in these, especially these days, where we are overbombed and oversaturated by all these images and social media, that we sometimes forget just to sit and focus and appreciate the things around us. I have the same conversation with my art students all the time. Before you start to analyze a painting or a specific artwork, it's important just to spend a bit of time to stop and to look at it and to appreciate it. So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed all of this, and we'll definitely be doing some more art-related and photography-related content in weeks to come. Please feel free to download the document in the comment section, and I will see you soon.